In the movie, I'm dating myself here just a little bit, but Steel Magnolias, anyone? Yeah, okay. Okay, Julia Roberts went on from there. But the one of the characters, played by Shirley MacLaine, Weezer. Remember Weezer? Yeah. At the Easter egg hunt was my favorite time. She seems, through the movie, to be so full of negativity. So much so that her neighbor, Merlin, played by Sally Field. Merlin, who happens to volunteer at the local mental health clinic, suggests to Weezer that she might benefit from talking with someone. And Weezer says, "I'm not crazy. I've just been in a really bad mood for 40 years. Well, when we ask each other, "How are you?" I'd have to say that I did a little test with this morning, asking people how are they, and I never one time heard fine. Are there people, I heard good, great, fabulous. Are there people in our lives that we avoid asking, "How are you?" Because we know for them fine means foul, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. And so we just kind of avoid them, of course, because we're good Unity students, and we have a positive attitude and a cheery disposition and always an encouraging word for someone. And if we aren't handling what's going in our own lives, we are going to naturally attract to us the skeptics. Anyone? Yeah, this week? Yeah. Drama addicts and Weezers. They're going to show up in our experience so that they can resonate with us, those things that we have not handled because we covered them up with our positive attitude and our cheery disposition. And it's important, it's critical for our spiritual growth that we notice when we're feeling something other than a cheery disposition, and we take care of it, we handle it, we do what it takes. We have tools to move back to loving the unlovable, forgiving the unforgivable. Remember that Psych 101 class some of us took? There was one where the students were studying emotional extremes. The instructor asks, well, just to set the parameters, Mrs. Jones, what would you say is the opposite of joy? And Mrs. Jones says, well, I guess that would be sadness. That's great, thank you. And Mr. Smith, what would you say is the opposite of depression? And Mr. Smith replies, well, I guess probably elation. That's really great. And Mrs. Clark, what would you say is the opposite of woe? Well, I think that's giddy up. Here's what Jesus had to say about what our subject today, which is not so much about horses, but yeah. Okay, so from the Gospel according to Matthew, do not judge, so that you may not be judged. For with the judgment you make, you will be judged, and the measure you give will be the measure you get. Why do you see the speck in your neighbor's eye, but do not notice the log in your own eye? Or how can you say to your neighbor, let me take the speck out of your eye, while the log is in your own eye? First, take out the log. Then you will see clearly to support your neighbor in taking the speck out of her eye. What is it about emotional extremes? We all feel them. We all do. One of the things that we think, some of us believe, is that we volunteered to come here and put on these earth suits and be in this human experience so that we can experience the polar opposites. And when we stuff those down and repress them and suppress them, we're not living up to what we volunteered to do. So we feel those extremes, and when the unforgivable shows up in our lives, we get to work through that to get to forgiveness and understand there never was really anything to forgive, because each of us has the freedom to be who we are. And when we judge, and I judge you as being not enough, who am I judging? how to get that log out of my own eye, right? So we fulfill our commitment by feeling those emotions and working through them. That's what we signed up for. And as Edwina, anybody know who I'm talking about? Yes, everyone raises their hand. But as Edwina is fond of saying, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I do not have to stay and build a condominium there. So I love that Karen Drucker song, I Release and I Let Go. It's part of the soundtrack of my life. And another one that really helps me keep my vibration up is an old Wings of Song. Remember the old hymnal, Wings of Song? Some of you do. The one that we would sing called I Am Free, I Am Unlimited. Do you know it? Will you sing just a bar or two with me? I am free, I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. Thank you, thank you. And that helps us remember that we are not just human beings having a spiritual experience. We are what? Thank you, spiritual beings having a human experience. Thank you. Talk about a pop quiz. You guys are great. Wow. So this past Mother's Day was all about emotional extremes for me, and I think many of you can also relate. Many of us have recently released our own mothers to the other side. Many of us have also released sons and daughters to the other side. We've released other people who seem to be an integral part of the experience of that one particular day, Mother's Day. And then last Sunday, we released our minister, Reverend Charles, for a few months of military leave. And there were a lot of emotional extremes that day as well, weren't there? There was excitement and there was sadness. There was a little fear, and there was also encouragement for Reverend Charles. It's all a part of that human experience. I am free. I am unlimited when I allow myself to feel what I need to feel and work through it. So what is it that keeps us from experiencing freedom every moment of every day? Well, I guess we have to first find out what freedom is before we know how we can experience it. So for me, freedom is knowing that no matter what comes into my life, no matter what the appearances are, no matter what's going on, I have in me everything I need to move through it and be stronger and more aware of who I am on the other side. And what keeps me from experiencing freedom is that I have some tenants living rent-free in my mind and in my heart. Some of those tenants are not enough. I can trace it right back to the very first report card I got, which was not all the most superior grades. And everyone after that, I can trace it back, but that doesn't mean that I have completely dealt with it because I still remember it and it still prickles a little bit. So it's still in there. I have some if-onlys and some why me. What about you? Got any of those? Any tenants going on? Any tenants living rent-free in your hearts and minds? Well, today we're going to evict at one tenant. Just one little one. Whatever one comes to your mind now, that's the one. And first we're going to take it to prayer. So I'd like my prayer chaplain to pray with me. Sharon, will you come up and join me, please? This is what it looks like when we go to one of our prayer chaplains after service or at another time and ask for prayer. Sharon, one of the things that's been going on in my life is that I feel a lot of judgment going on when I'm walking Tinkerbell, and not every pet parent cleans up. And I know that the feces have more to do with just feces. There's feces all about a lot of things going on in me, but that's the symptom right now. So will you pray with me about that judgment that I have going on?
I will.
Thank you.
All right. So let's take a breath and relax. Relax deeply into the presence of God, that presence within us that's always there, always available to us. And we know that we are divine love. God is love. And because God is love, we are love. And as we become more and more aware of this divine love within us, praying from this space of love, we begin to release all thoughts of any wrongdoing, all judgment, all anger, all resentment. We release it all easily and gently. And as we release, we become even more aware of that divine love, filling our hearts and our minds with thoughts of goodness. And that awareness leads us to gratitude. We are so grateful, so deeply grateful for the feeling of freedom this release brings, because we are free, we are love. We are so grateful for this ability to respond in this way to any situation, no matter what the appearance. And we give thanks through the name and in the power of the living Christ within. Amen.
Amen. Thank you,
Yeah,
Sharon.
you're
Thank you
welcome.
so much. Thank you. So after our service on Sunday mornings, our prayer chaplains will be around our perimeter of this auditorium and ready to pray with you should you have something on your heart where you'd like some support. And our prayer chaplains we're all trained intensely to maintain confidentiality and to pray with you from the Spirit, from the principles that we embrace here. Our prayer chaplains are the heart of this ministry. You've heard Reverend Charles say that many times. Prayer is the heart of the unity philosophy. Now, to deepen our spiritual practice, our prayer chaplains get together for a weekend intensive twice a year. And the next one is coming up June 2nd and 3rd, and you're invited. Whether or not you're choosing to become a chaplain of this church or any other organization, I invite you to experience this intensive that will deepen your spiritual practice. Just speak to one of our chaplains after the service. So are we ready to tear up that lease? I know, like me, I know that you've got somebody living in your heart and in your mind rent-free because you're still here. You still have a body. That's how I know it. I don't know any details. But there's somebody, just hold up that lease like this, if you will. Just hold it up, imaginary lease. And you see your name on it. You see the rent, 0. And there's something else written, a person, an experience, a thought. There's something else on it, whatever it is. Just for now, we say, I forgive me. I forgive you. We begin again in love. And now let's just take that lease and tear it. And then turn it, tear it again. We still got the pieces in our hands, and we keep turning and tearing until it just won't tear anymore. All right? And we remember what we affirmed, that I forgive me, I forgive you. We begin again in love, and now throw those pieces up into the air. And there's forgiveness raining down on all of us because I am free, I am unlimited. Together, I am free, I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited. Right now, right now. Thank you so much. I forgive me, I forgive you. We begin in love. Thank you, Steve.